No, I can't do that accent very well. Hey there, everyone. You're watching the Reinvention show, the one and only show that educates, inspires, and entertains you on your journey to reinvention. I am your host, Carol Wayne, and today I have Daniel Thurston coming all the way from New Zealand. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Carol.
How you doing?
Oh, it's good to be here all the way from New Zealand.
Yes, and I guess should say, how are you going? Right?
You probably should. You'd sound a little bit more like us, but but the accent does still give it away.
Yeah, I know. I can't do that accent very well. So I just love the lower third, the bottom of "You're still reinventing." I love that.
Always.
Yes. So you are a brand specialist. You are a startup guy. You spend part of your time in China and part of your time in New Zealand, and you just spent part of your time in the United States, right?
I did.
So you're living my dream life there, Daniel. So let's talk about your reinvention story.
Yeah, the reason I say I'm still reinventing is because genuinely, my entire career really has been switching and changing and going through different iterations, and I don't regard it as ever finishing. So my story is a long one and ongoing, but I think the key points are around, as you say, I'm a bit of a startup guy. It almost looks like a compulsion. I've been involved in, I think, 5 startups, and my original startup was my own creative agency in Auckland, which is still running after 14 years, and that represented quite a reinvention, going from the kind of ad guy into starting up my own brand consultancy business, and there's the business reinvention that I've had, which is starting up a company in China, which is in education, training in education. I started up New Zealand's first Maori creative agency, and then folded it a year later because it was it ended up actually just being too much work for me. I have to say, it was an amazing opportunity, and there was so much going on. But part of my reinvention, I tend to layer new inventions on top of the old ones rather than letting the last one go before I move on to the next one, that could be regarded as being a saboteur. The fact that I don't quite let go of, at the time I started the Māori agency, I was a director of 2 other companies and in an executive role in both.
So what made you go to China?
I guess the reality was that in my creative agency, without wanting to sound arrogant, I'm very good at what I do. I'm very experienced, and I've developed, I guess, some processes and IP in the creative in the field that work really well. And I think 5.5 years ago, I reached the point where I was ready for a new challenge, and one of the things that you asked me was about my reinvention tips, and I said the first one was just say yes. This opportunity came along. I'd never been to China, never met, didn't know anything about the people that I was going to be involved in, but I was introduced to it by a friend in New Zealand, and I just decided to say yes. I thought, well, it sounds interesting, and clearly I was ready. It's all those sayings like, when the student is ready, the teacher appeared. Well, I was ready to learn something new, and so it turned up, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself in my own development, because I'm not sure what your viewers know of New Zealand, but we are a minuscule country of 4.5 million people at the bottom of the globe, like tucked away in the middle of nowhere. China is kind of like in the middle of the globe and 1.3 billion people. And everything about China is different to New Zealand, particularly business environment, business culture, the practices. And so what it did was throw me into this completely alien environment, and force me to make my way, and like just reset some paradigms that they basically turned me into an international businessman. And it's funny. I before I started doing business in China, even though I'd run my own business successfully for a number of years, I refused to call myself a businessman. I had this picture of like grey suit and shiny shoes, and it was like, and I'm not that thing. And in some, another word that you've used is fraudster, and it's like I totally felt like a fraud when I went to China. And you go to China and you would find. Have you been to China?
Only to Hong Kong, so I guess not really.
Oh, no, that doesn't count at all. If you went to China, this is what would happen for you as well. You were a Westerner, and with business expertise, you would instantly gain cachet and respect. Just you walk in a room and people are going to listen to you.
Oh.
Because you occur as a Western businesswoman.
Okay.
And seriously. and they will listen to you, and I mean hang on your every word. And so I was finding this, and while I also, there's a whole bunch of things about me. For example, I don't have a degree. I have a 1-year diploma in advertising and marketing, and I'm in China. I'm dealing with everyone's got an MBA. If you haven't got an MBA, it's kind of like you might as well just go and work in McDonald's.
Right.
And probably quite a lot of people working at McDonald's actually have MBAs. And so this whole kind of fraudster thing is like, I've got people listening to what I'm saying, and and I'm feeling like I just don't have the credentials for these kind of corporate bigwigs to really be listening to me. So I've all the time I was sort of running the script of, what are you doing, and are you even being responsible and giving advice, or providing context, or putting strategic plans and things together for people who are so much more qualified than you on paper to do it.
Right.
But again, that was that was speaking selfishly, it was really valuable for me to know that it's actually it's not the paper, it's not even your background, it's just how you apply yourself to whatever's going on that matters.
Exactly.
And yeah, and I mean, I don't quite know why it worked out like it did, but 5 years on, I still have a lot of, in fact, my influence over there is growing, and I've settled into myself, and been able over the last, increasingly able to, not be embarrassed to acknowledge the value that, the value that I have as a person in a business environment. What I can offer to my business partners, to employees, and also to the business community in China.
Yeah, well, we're talking, Daniel and I are talking about 4 of the traits that are common in almost every reinvention. There's the fraudster, which we were talking about, and I get the imposter syndrome all the time. And I just keep telling myself that according to Wikipedia, only successful, intelligent people get imposter syndrome.
Good, thank you.
So there we go.
I feel smarter already.
So there's the fraudster, there's the saboteur, when everything is going well and the little girl or the little boy inside you comes up and goes, oh, this is going too well, I'm going to screw this up. So that's another trait. Then we were talking about the victim, and I don't do victim very often anymore. I did before. I don't do victim anymore. I did victim when my business went south, and oh, poor me, and what am I going to do, and blah, 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 blah. And then there's also the hypocrite. And the hypocrite is when you're not really doing what you're supposed to do. You're not living your values. You're not being true to yourself. You're not being, as our friend Sally would say, open kimono. You're not being transparent and vulnerable and authentic and honest and all those things that you're meant to be. So to me, those are all traits that show up during any reinvention. So have you had any of those other ones show up in your reinventions? Any of them?
Yeah, I think I was very much I did victim big time in that kind of crisis 3 year point in my first business. It was like I've worked so hard and I've been such a nice employer, and and we've done such great work for our clients, and yet some of them had departed, and as an employer I was taken to court. And I really did go through victim at that time. It was the blackest time I can remember, and now that you use the word victim, it puts it in context, because I was brought up a farm boy in a really small, remote farming community, and we just weren't allowed to be victims. It was it was stiff upper lip. If you cry, I will give you something to cry about. Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah.
And you weren't allowed to dwell on anything. And like farming life is all about natural cycles of life and death and hurt and healing and all of those things. It's incredibly pragmatic, and I was brought up in that way. So I wasn't allowed to be a victim. Seriously, we would get clipped around the ear if we if we behaved like victims. And so then I find myself in business being firmly in that place, which I say, I see it as really alien for me. And it's another thing that I say about, if you want to reinvent yourself, make sure you've got support and ask for it. Is I was lucky enough to have a really good business coach at the time, and she wasn't coaching me at the time. I'd consulted with her earlier, and then I went through this period, and I just called her up and said, look, I've got some stuff going on. I just don't know how to deal with it. Can we talk? And she just in half an hour gave me just all the context I needed to snap out of the whole victim thing, to actually, now, and this is about 12 years on, I can truly, as sickly as this sounds, I can truly be grateful for every challenge that's ever been thrown in my way, and everything I hated and found difficult. Truly, I can feel gratitude for it, because it is so much the fabric of who I am, and all of those things. It's that cliche, what does not kill us makes us stronger. But exactly. Man, it's absolutely true. And if you are not getting knocked around, you're not getting stronger, and you're not learning anything. You're just hiding out somewhere.
Yeah. You're not trying hard enough if you don't get.
No, you're not taking enough risks.
Yeah.
And you're not really alive, because getting out there, you run, you're gonna trip and fall. But if you want to sit in a wheelchair, or God, that was probably really politically incorrect. But you know what I mean. If you just want to be quietly wheeled around everywhere and insulated from everything that's going on, you will experience no pain, but you will. There's no growth, and there's no real engagement in the life that you're living.
Mm-hmm. So, by the way, I only have a 2-year college degree. It's called an associate degree.
Right. Well, you are as well qualified as I am.
Yes, and I too got taken to court with one of my employees. So.
Yeah. Yes, and I imagine it's a similar situation in that. What I know of you, I do not see you as an oppressive kind of threatening boss, and so I would imagine that the circumstances are kind of similar. That it's just an attitudinal thing where someone feels that you did them wrong, and then they their recourse is to make you pay. Yeah.
In my case, I had hired someone as an independent contractor, as a salesperson.
Yeah.
Who then claimed that he was actually an employee.
Yeah.
So even though he didn't produce anything.
Yeah.
He took me to court, and I actually lost. I was I was mad as hell, but I lost because what I did was I had spent quite a lot of money getting an independent contractor agreement put together by my lawyer,
Yeah.
and I changed one line
Yeah.
without going through him, and it was that
Right.
one line that I changed that was the reason why I lost that.
Wow. And that's really good learning for anyone looking to at reinvention as business, or anyone looking to be an entrepreneur. Is, see, I didn't get the legal advice. I hired someone who was a friend, and so when it came to terminate her employment through very, very rational good reasons, she her I didn't do the legal thing because I treated her as a friend. But for her, it was, my friend is sacking me,
Yeah.
so you can't be my friend. Therefore, I'm really angry at you, and I'm going to make you pay. So the rationale was right, and my intentions were all around compassion. Do you know what I mean? I didn't do the legal route because I thought, well, we're friends, so I'll just sit her down and go through it with her logically and rationally, and she'll get it because she's my friend. Wow. See, you're a lawyer.
I know. So what other lessons have you learned along the way?
It's funny because every day is a learning day, and that's like I've got my 5 reinvention tips, which I think they sort of summarize some areas that I think are important to consider, or things that generally I've just found myself coming back to time and time again. So do you want me to run through those, because
Sure.
they do? Yeah.
Yep,
So
let's do that.
yeah. So I mean, the first one was about saying yes, and that there's a brilliant New Zealand entrepreneur, and he has this saying. I don't know if it's his, but I like it. He says, opportunities don't shout, they whisper. And the thing is, all around us all the time, there are opportunities just whispering at us. And the ones that actually come to the surface and capture our attention, and and offer us something, I just say yes to. I'm I'm just a crazy compulsive yes man. And if there's something that comes along that looks significant and of value to me, I'll just say yes to it. And in actual fact, that kind of goes in every area of my life. It's sort of a version of hedonism, but I think there's something slightly deeper. It's not just superficial. It's really about living life at an intensity. You can absorb so much, and I think so many people are capable of absorbing much more than they can experientially, taking more in of life, drinking more fully of the cup. And so that's my first piece of advice, is just say yes, and just be the leaf on the stream, and see where it carries you, because amazing things will happen if you're open. But as long as you stay listening, and you're not just a passive passenger on the journey, participate, and then whatever you put in, you will get back out, but maybe in ways that surprise you, not in the ways that you predicted. Everyone has people who are available to them, and the incredible thing that I've discovered is that if you ask people for help from a place of vulnerability and openness, in my experience, no one ever turns you down. Now, it's very different if you ask from a place of entitlement or expectation. If you take people for granted, you'll soon find that no one wants to lend you a hand. But if you can be that person who is inherently prepared to give as much as you get, then it's almost like the universe knows that, and so when you send out a request, it gets answered, and likewise, then you answer the requests that are made of you, and we're a beautiful species in that way. We can be of so much help and support to each other, and we will be if we're allowed to be. But so many people have these notions of, I have to do it myself. It's my son is 21 years old, and we have this ongoing thing where I'm saying, Tom, you know, I have so much success in my life, and it's on the shoulders of all of these people that I ask for help. And you're having these challenges, and you refuse to ask anyone for help. And it's you seem to see asking for help as a weakness, and I see it as a total strength, and the source of so much that is good in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Because I needed help to film my reinvention show.
yeah, absolutely. And it's that kind of help. It's not the kind of like victim save me help. It's about, here's what I'm doing. It's really cool, and I think you could make a contribution, or are you willing to make a contribution, or please make a contribution?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
so
you have one more?
I've got two more, so I'll do you want me to wrap them up quickly?
No.
I was always an overachiever, despite my lack of tertiary qualifications. Another I've already alluded to as well, which is it never finishes. Reinvention never finishes. If you look at society, culture, business environment, they are constantly evolving. And there is no way who you were 2 years ago is really going to cut it in today's world. So no matter how great you were 2 years ago or last week, you still need to reinvent. You still need to be moving with the flow of the planet and continuing to reinvent. And again, it's beautiful that we've got this capacity to keep reinventing ourselves. It's like you are something at your core. You are Carol Wayne, and there's something immensely powerful about that. But how Carol Wayne makes her way through the world can be completely different tomorrow than it is today. And I love that about us, that we have that capacity. And again, it goes to what I was talking about in terms of the richness of our experience of life. That process of reinvention, of learning and unfolding and in unpredictable ways, to me that's what makes life sweet and flavorful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's no destination for me. It's just a journey, and genuinely, I hope that when I'm 80 years old, I'm still reinventing.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people who are unhappy because they refuse to reinvent. They refuse to change. And what would your advice be to those people?
It's funny because in some ways you can only, my belief is you can only give advice to people who ask. And by definition, people who refuse to change are in a place where there's very little very little externally, or it's certainly in terms of people that can catalyze any kind of change for them. It has to start with at least some opening or awareness of what they're doing, the cost of being where they are, and sometimes my advice in some ways would be feel what's going on for you, feel how it's those questions that Sally asks, like, how's that working for you?
So what's next for you, Daniel? I know you're reinventing and I know you're sorting things out, but where do you think you're going to go?
So the funny thing for me is that is that I face, I've kept this foot in two camps thing going for a while, out of really a sense of to indulge myself. It's suited me to not make a choice, to have the best of both worlds, and really that's what I've had. You mentioned before living the dream, and it is truly, my life is is fantastic, and every moment is just filled with something amazing. The big part of the reason that I haven't let either one go is I love them both, and both bring me distinctly different things that I treasure enormously in my life. And so, you know, again, in life we all get those experiences where we have to make a choice. You know, sometimes it's the rock and a hard place, the lesser of two evils. But in this case, you know, I'm faced with choosing between two awesome things that a lot of people would give a lot to just have one of those opportunities. And again, I believe the reason I have both is because I've just said yes, and I've really engaged with what life has thrown at me. But now along with the sort of gratitude and happiness that I have about having two great things is truly a sense of grief that I'm going to have to let one of them go. And if you ask me today, it's an ongoing process, because it doesn't just involve me. As I said, there's employees in both companies, particularly in New Zealand. It's you know, I'm the managing director here, so there's more reliance on me here at the moment than there is in China. So I spend more of my time here. My wife and son are here, and my son's 21, so he doesn't need to be part of the decision, but my wife does. And you know, so today I feel like the Chinese opportunity offers me a more vibrant experience of life through the next stage, you know, and in a way that's my litmus test. Where will I have the most learning? Where will I take the most risks? What will throw the most daunting challenges at me? Where will I get the most growth?
Right.
And you know, if I apply all of those criteria, really the Chinese opportunity stands out as the stronger one. But it's also the one that asks me to sacrifice the most of what I have right now today.
Right. Wow. So when are you going to decide?
I have till October to decide, and if I take up the Chinese opportunity, I'll be there full time from February next year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Big decision. So no wonder you're currently reinventing.
Yeah. It's a big reinvention, because you know, it will change my identity as well. You know, my business identity, my national identity will change. I would become an expat. You know, so many things about me would change that are, you know, that again, they're not. It's not life and death stuff, but you know, we're always cultivating a persona, and you know, there's a perception of who we are that's related to where we are and what we're doing and how we're approaching life. You know, and so it represents a slightly different Daniel if I am a Beijing-based education company manager,
as opposed to managing director of an agency in New Zealand. Wow.
Yeah, of a creative agency. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I don't know what I would choose.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's the great thing, isn't it? It's because there's no formula. There's just being in the now, taking account of all the information that you have available to you, which is often not a huge amount because none of it's happened yet, and then just applying some intuition and I guess common sense to it.
Yeah.
And then
you know,
and then see how it plays out. And also nothing is forever. Yeah. So I can do this, and if after 6 months I discover that it's not the kind of reinvention I wanted, I can reinvent again.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I could talk to you for hours, Daniel.
We could.
Unfortunately, I don't have hours to spend today. So I thank you very, very much for sharing what you have. I wish you all the best with your own reinvention, and I'm here for you if you need me. You know that, right?
I know that, and I'll call you up on that too.
Awesome. Well, there you go, another amazing episode of the Reinvention Show. We want to hear what you think, so be sure to put comments in the box below, and also be sure to opt in so that you get advance notice of when this show is going to air and future shows. Until next time, bye. If you'd like Carol to help you with your reinvention, reach out to her by going to her website and completing the Contact Us form, or send her an email at carol@carolwayne.com. She's also available on Skype at IDICarol, and on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all Carol Wayne. No, I can't do that accent very well.